Ugh. Welcome back to another episode of My Body, My Jokes. It's me, Morgan Lorraine Gallo. And sometimes I think I talk too fast on these intros. Do I? Let me know. I feel like sometimes I'm a little too ADD on it. ADHD? Now they call it ADHD. I'm coming to you live from Dude IDK Studios in the heart of Denver. I love this place. You know it. We're having a good time. Depending on when this episode's coming out, I'm sure it'll be coming out before this. I'm hosting my second edition of the Hourglass Social right here in the studio at Dude IDK Studios. And if you haven't heard of it before, it is my social hour / comedy show that features all female, non-binary, and queer comedians from Denver. I partner with my friend Lindsay Benton from Live Laugh Denver, who I adore. She's been so helpful in getting the event together, helping us get free drinks, free food, having a good time, and she helps us use our space next to the studio so that we can kind of party before the show. So if you are around February 8th in Denver, I'd love to see you there. Tickets can be found at the link in my bio on Instagram, on my website, Morgan Lorraine Gallo, on everything. Just look it up, you'll find it. And it's going to be a really good time. I'm really excited. The first show was really fun. And I feel like I love performing for that crowd more than I love performing for like a normal comedy club crowd, because it's mostly women and queer people and non-binary people and like allies. And they're like, oh, we want to have fun and support you. So it's a really good vibe. Today, I'm going to be answering more of your questions that you have submitted recently. I did another episode where I had gone through kind of the first round of questions I got through the first few months of the pod, and more have come in, which makes me really excited. So if you ever have a question that you would like to ask, a thought to share, a comment, you can always email the podcast at mybodymyjokespod@gmail.com, and I will find it. I will look at it. I will email you back. I will answer it. I will send it to all my friends. No, I won't do that. But you can also email, or you can also DM me on like Instagram, TikTok, wherever you find me. I'm always open to answering questions, giving advice, with the caveat that like I'm not a medical professional. So do it at your discretion. So today we're answering questions. So without further ado, let's get into it. This person submitted a question, and I have a feeling that it was supposed to be interpreted a different way. So let me know what you think. I'm pretty sure this was submitted by a man. It says, is there a mental hack to fix my ED? And I have a feeling that this guy thinks that my entire profile is about erectile dysfunction recovery, which is hilarious considering that a kindergartner could look at my profile and realize that it's eating disorder stuff because it says eating disorder in my bio. So here's what I'm going to say. If you have erectile dysfunction, it's okay. You can work through that. You got to work through it though, because as someone who has been with someone who has ED and is unwilling to fix it, it's very frustrating to try to be as accepting as possible and be like, hey, we can do this. Let's get help. Let's do this. That is something that is completely normal. It is, your body's not broken. You are not unworthy. You just got to deal with a little something, something. You know what I mean? So if that means going to get help, taking a pill, doing whatever. I don't know if there's a mental hack for it. I don't live in a man's body, so I can't speak to that experience, but I will say, like, don't shame yourself. Or if this question was, is there a mental hack to fix my eating disorder? Then the answer is no, absolutely not. You need to get help. Because unfortunately, if you have an eating disorder, if you have a fully blown eating disorder, that is a mental disease that requires medical intervention. And the mental hack is just getting yourself to admit you need help, honestly. Obviously, recovery is not as accessible as it should be for people with eating disorders. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of help in the realm of recovery if you're not someone who has insurance, or your insurance doesn't cover it because they don't consider you sick enough to get recovery, or you live in a place where having access to a therapist or a nutritionist or a psychiatrist just isn't possible. But there's a lot of free resources online. If you look up the National Eating Disorders Association, they have a ton of free screening tools and resources on their website to help you. So hopefully that answered both sides of the question. I really don't know if it was ED, what that meant. Do you think more men have body dysmorphia than think they do? That's a good question. Because again, I don't want to speak for men because I don't, I'm not a man and I don't want to act like I know everything. I think body dysmorphia affects a lot of people. And I think men probably experience it like differently than women do because the expectations for men are so different. Like men have to be, buff and like tall, and they have to have a jawline and certain hair in certain area. Like it's such bullshit that there's any expectations for anyone, let alone the gender binary. But yeah, I think a lot of men probably experience body dysmorphia because like, I feel like men are more prone to like, oh, I am not strong enough. I'm not bulky enough. I am not tall enough. I'm not, all these things. So yeah, maybe more have it than think they do. But I don't really know. I mean, I think it kind of depends on like where you're at in your health journey. I think a lot more women are willing to admit that they struggle with body dysmorphia because unfortunately it's like so common. And it's really hard to not have body dysmorphia in the culture we live in. So it's like we're a lot more willing to talk about it, where I think for men, unfortunately, it's like you can't really talk to your bros and be like, yeah, bro, I'm having body issues today. Because they're just going to be like, yeah, just go work out about it. So that's not fun. Do you think that Ozempic is part of the solution or part of the problem now? Oh, I love talking about Ozempic. I talked in the last questions answered episode about this, because someone had asked about how I think Ozempic is affecting body positivity. And I think it's a very tricky thing, right? Because it's part of the solution for people who are diagnosed with diabetes and who medically need that medicine to survive and to help assist their body in breaking down food with the production of insulin. But if you are someone that doesn't have diabetes and you are buying Ozempic because you want a quick fix to lose weight, then you are a part of the problem. Absolutely. Now, I wouldn't put the onus on the individual consumer, because when you do that, you're kind of overlooking the systematic like capitalist bullshit that's happening. The fact that Ozempic is being pushed, Ozempic, Wegovy, I don't know what the other one is. There's a few drugs that are kind of like knockoffs of Ozempic because they have like the similar like molecular structure. Same thing, injections to lose weight. The fact that they're being marketed to people who aren't suffering from diabetes or living with diabetes is the problem. The fact that it's being used by celebrities and then being touted as this like miracle weight loss drug is the problem. I think if you're someone that is like really steeped in diet culture and you really want to lose weight and you buy it, like, are you a part of the problem? Maybe yes, technically, but like you as the individual consumer are only responding to a problem that has been created by society. So you can't exactly put the onus on them. You know what I mean? It's the same way where you look at people who it's like, okay, do people who go to Chick-fil-A, like, are they part of the problem, or is Chick-fil-A the problem? And it's like, well, obviously Chick-fil-A is the problem. They hate gay people. They're being fucking bigoted. Like, they're the ones supporting really fucked up political campaigns. But it's like, is someone eating at Chick-fil-A part of the problem because they're supporting that? Maybe. But it's like, there is really no ethical consumption under capitalism. So this podcast just got so woke. Wow. So yeah, I would say Ozempic is a part of the problem. Only if you're someone that's like not living with diabetes and like doesn't need it. I just really strongly feel like weight loss drugs and weight loss plans and, you know, all these like smoothies and teas and things that like say that they're going to fix you are at the root of it. It's really just a way for someone to make money, especially because the weight loss industry is such an unstable industry, because they know that you're going to lose weight and then gain it back. So you're just going to go back to the same plan or buy the new thing or keep consuming new hacks that are happening, right? So Ozempic is part of the problem. Was there an experience that triggered your disordered eating? I wouldn't say there was one singular experience. I would say that the way my eating disorder manifested itself was from me partaking in dieting, which happens to a lot of people who have eating disorders. I started out on a diet And once I started losing weight and getting so high off the idea of being thinner, I started to want to lose weight at whatever cost. And that cost was, eating less and less and less, exercising more and more and more, doing things to my body that weren't healthy to the point where I was like physically did not feel well. So there wasn't one singular experience. It was more of like a culmination of a summer of dieting, of comments made by friends and family. And then once I had lost the weight, being met with so much positive energy, so much admiration, so much optimism that I was like, oh, well, clearly I have to do this the rest of my life or else no one's going to love me. So that was what really taught me to like stay in the eating disorder. I think what triggered it was like months and months of dieting and just thinking that that was the only way to live. Is the queer community more or less toxic about body politics than the rest of the world? Again, I can't speak for whole communities. I even, I'm a bisexual woman, so some people consider me a part of the queer community. Some people don't. So I think that like my limited experience with the queer community hasn't exactly like informed me a lot about like the body politics. I have seen and heard from my queer friends that there is definitely a larger scope of like body positivity in the queer community. And there's also a much stricter scope of body standards, specifically among gay men. And again, like I'm not a gay man, so I can't speak to that, but I have seen and I have kind of, I guess, like absorbed the idea from other people that there are a lot of body expectations within the queer community, specifically with queer men, because there's just a lot of like factors that contribute to like, well, are you femme? Are you masc? How masc are you? Are you a bear? Are you an otter? Are you a twink? Are you all these things? So I don't really know. I mean, I think maybe the queer community probably experiences it a little differently because women are typically told to look a certain way in order to attract a man, right? But if we look a certain way, how do we attract women? Attracting a woman is a much different experience than attracting a man. And I would go as far as to say that most lesbians, most queer women are less inclined to look at bodies and think, oh, well, she doesn't have a flat tummy and a fat ass and big boobs. I don't want her. I think they're a lot more like, no, she's a beautiful soul. At least I think so. Again, I don't really know. That would be a really interesting thing to bring a guest on for and talk about, is the queer community for sure. What is your favorite healthy snack and why? I hate this question. I absolutely hate this question. I hate the idea of like healthy food, healthy living, health. What does the word healthy really mean? What does that really mean? Like healthy for me is so different than healthy for other people. Because for me, healthy means eating any and all foods and being okay with it. Healthy for me means moving my body most days and then also feeling okay if I don't move my body, Healthy for me is completely rewiring my brain to understand that my body is okay as it is and that I am not my body. So healthy is like such a convoluted term, in my opinion. A healthy snack to me is a snack that satisfies you. A healthy snack to me is a snack that you want and you eat it and you walk away feeling good. That's kind of it. I mean, as someone who used to engage in really disordered eating, and healthy to me was eating a quarter cup of almonds and a stalk of celery and carrots for lunch, literally for a meal, I can't really answer that question. I mean, I always look at snacks and look at meals through the lens of what you're taught in recovery, which is exchanges, which is kind of the same thing as macros, which is like, getting your grain, your produce, your fat, your protein, and not necessarily like limiting yourself to like, I need 2 protein and 1 produce and all this stuff, but more just like, am I representing all the food groups on my plate? And if not, like, can I add to it? It's not about taking away, it's about adding to it. So I would say that my favorite healthy snack is food. That's it. When suffering with your mental health, what do you find the best way to switch off or detox? Suffering with my mental health. So the past 15 years of my life, I would say maybe getting help has been the best thing to do. When I'm like in a really dark place, specifically as I've been in recovery, I try to talk about it because I'm very good at cutting people off. I'm very good at isolating myself and not talking about it because it's easier and because I would rather suffer in silence alone than feel like I am burdening someone else with my issues. So I've gotten a lot better about like talking about it. And even that makes me feel insecure because I don't want to like complain too much. I don't want to be someone that's like always talking about how much I'm struggling because no one wants to be around that type of person. But for me, the best way is to just like get it out somehow, whether it's talking about it, journaling about it. Sometimes I do what I call like podcasting on my own. If I'm driving a long distance, I will just turn off my music and talk out loud to myself for like 30 minutes. And it's awesome because I almost act as if I'm on a podcast and as if someone's asking me like, so what are you struggling with today? And I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so fucking sick of this bullshit. And I'll just like talk in traffic. And it really helps because it makes me feel like I'm at least getting it out of my system. And then sometimes when I say something out loud, I'm like, oh yeah, that is really stupid. I don't need to worry about that. So any way to kind of like expel the energy, I think is a really good way to help with mental health. Obviously, depending on how deep it runs, like seeking help is probably the most helpful. You know what I mean? Like getting a medical professional to intervene is probably the most helpful, but there's a lot of resources. The internet is an amazing tool. Talk to Chat GPT. I mean, maybe they'll have something nice to say. This person asked, oh, I hate this question. How has losing weight helped you mentally and emotionally? So I messaged this person and I said to them, hey, this is a super inappropriate question because I am in eating disorder recovery and I can tell that you have not done your due diligence of looking at my profile. Please don't ask people these types of questions and just assume things about their bodies. And this person responded and was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it in a disrespectful way. Like, I'll think twice next time. And I hate like calling people out like that. It makes me feel bad, but I think it needs to be done because I'm really tired of the idea that just commenting on someone else's body or being like, oh, you've lost weight, you look so good. Or, oh, like, what do you do to lose weight? It's like, you don't know what that person's going through. Like, what if that person just started chemo? You know what I mean? And they're fucking losing weight because they have poison in their body because they're fighting fucking cancer. You know what I mean? Or what if they like are going through a really difficult time in their life and they're so stressed out that their body is responding by shedding weight, right? Or what if something has happened mentally or physically to where like they can't do things that they used to be able to do, so they're gaining weight or losing weight? Like the idea that like we only lose and gain weight because we are either on a health journey or overly gluttonous and like fat pigs is insane to me. Like it's the same way as like when a woman gives birth to a child and then like her body is for the majority like changed for the rest of her life. It's like, why would we comment on that? She literally just made a human. She made a human from scratch. She gave life to a human being and we're sitting here being like, yeah, but her tummy is still big. What the fuck? What are you talking about? So no, losing weight has not done. I don't know if I've lost weight. My body has changed, sure, since recovery because I'm recovering from binge eating disorder. But like, I try really hard not to pay attention to that. And don't get me wrong, like it is hard because I don't weigh myself. My nutritionist weighs me. I don't know what she's seeing on the other side of the scale, but like I've been stable for a while now, and that's all I really care about. I think the thing that's helped me physically and emotionally is being in recovery. That's what has helped me. It's not looking at my sizes on my clothes. It's not a number. It's not calories burned. It's not tracking anything. It's not closing my rings on my Apple Watch. It's literally just healing my brain, healing my body from the abuse that I've put it through for 15 years. What's been helpful lately as far as What's been helpful lately as far as improving body image? What's been helpful lately? What has been helpful lately? I've definitely started to change my relationship with fashion. I used to really look at fashion as either something to hide my body or to flatter my body, and there was no in between. I was either wearing like really baggy stuff because I didn't want anyone to see my body because I was binge eating, or I was wearing really tight cropped, everything because I wanted people to see my body because I was restricting and I felt proud of myself. Whereas lately, now that my body has been stable for a while, I go through phases where it's like sometimes I want to wear a big baggy sweater because it's comfy and cozy and it's cold outside, or because it looks cute and that's the style. Or sometimes I'll wear like a tank top or a tight tank top because I want to like feel a little bit more snatched or whatever. It just depends. Like I feel like the thing that has helped my body image is specifically recently is just recognizing like clothes are just clothes, and they really like, it's not that serious. They don't really mean that much. I mean, right now I'm wearing an oversized sweatshirt and jeans that I bought in a size up so that they were a little bit more like loose so I could wear them low waisted and they weren't like pinching on me. And to me, I'm just like, yeah, these are just like my clothes. Like I don't care if from the side I look a certain way. I don't care if you can't see my waist, or, my butt looks, baggy in these mom jeans or whatever. Like I just, to me, it's like, it's not that serious anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have bad days, but I think the thing that's helped most recently is just clothing myself and being able to look at it as like, yeah, this is just fabric. This is just like a vessel I'm walking around in. How do you hype yourself up? I'm not the most kind towards myself and my looks. How do I hype myself up? I don't know if I do a lot of hyping myself up. Maybe I should do that more. I should probably do a little bit more like affirmations and stuff. Lately what I've been doing though is just trying to really like stop negative thoughts in their tracks. So if I'm looking in the mirror and I start overthinking about like a certain part of my body, I try really hard to be like, oh, okay, we're not doing that because that's not fun, or if I'm like, maybe I have like a bad comedy set, or if I feel like I'm not performing well on the internet or the podcast isn't doing well, I try really hard to just be like, it's not that serious. Like it literally doesn't matter. It's funny answering this question because I feel like lately I just haven't really been hyping myself up. I've really just been kind of coasting because I've been moving and my attention has been elsewhere. So my recovery is kind of not on the back burner, but it's kind of just like next to the first burner right now. So yeah, hyping myself up is more about like me just trying not to engage in the negative thoughts rather than like going out of my way to have positive thoughts, if that makes sense. So I should probably get better at that. What are some ways that work for you that help you get out of a mental funk? I think I might have answered a little bit of this earlier, but just changing a routine, switching a pattern, doing the opposite action. My nutritionist taught me that sometimes even if we're in a place where we don't want to do something, like let's say you are feeling really icky and you're sitting on your couch and you're just like, ugh, like I just want to lay here and just sit in my, sadness or whatever. And like, well, if I got up and if I got outside and if I walked, or even if I just stood in the sunshine, I know I would feel better. But you can't get yourself to get up and do it because you're just like, you kind of want to sit in that sadness. She's like, you don't have to want to do it. You just have to do it. Like, you don't have to be excited to do it. You don't have to be happy about doing it. Just do it. Just go outside and just stand in the sun for 30 seconds. And then the majority of the time you'll feel better and you'll be like, okay, maybe I will go for a walk, or maybe I'll sit out here longer. Maybe I'll go grab a book and read under the sun or something. So doing the opposite action of like what you want to do that's going to help you like wallow in that sadness, because I'm very good at that. Once I get sad, I'm like, I'm just going to lay here and watch TikTok for 3 hours. I'm very good at that. So being like, no, I'm going to do the opposite. What's the opposite? I'm going to go clean something. I'm going to go journal. I'm going to go say hi to someone. I'm going to call someone. I'm going to like text someone. Just to do any opposite action to direct your energy elsewhere has been really helpful. And I'm still working on that, but I've found that the times I get to do it are good. They make it a lot better. How do you respond on days where you may not have much energy or fire passion? Well, today's one of those days, but I'm here. I'm doing it. I don't know, man. I mean, I would say like be consistent and just keep doing it, but that's like the lamest advice ever because that's what every fucking Gary V dude says. They're like, just keep grind every day, do it all the time, don't say no, never quit. And it's like, yeah, we get it. Consistency is key. But I think the real thing under it is just like giving yourself the grace of being like, yeah, I don't want to do this right now, and I'm going to do it anyway. Or I don't want to do this right now, and I'm going to give myself a break, because sometimes you need a break. I've taken several breaks from comedy. I've taken several months, weeks where I've just been like, you know what? I'm not going to do shows for a while because I'm not having fun anymore and I don't want to do this. And then after the break, I'm usually like excited to go back to it. Or I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to it, but I'm only going to do it in these ways. I'm only going to do these types of shows, or I'm only going to do these types of jokes because that's what I want to do. But yeah, some days like I do let myself just admit like, yeah, I don't want to do this right now, and I'm going to do something else that might be productive, but I'm going to get to it later. Like the days where I edit my podcast, sometimes I'm like, ugh, I don't want to sit in front of my computer. I don't want to caption all this shit. I don't want to do everything because it's a lot of work, right? But I try to make a deal with myself where I'm like, okay, Mondays are the days that I sit down and I do the pod. And if I can't get to it Monday morning, I do it that afternoon. If I can't get to it then, I do it Tuesday. And then if there's a day where I'm like, I really cannot do it today, I'm like, okay, maybe I won't get the podcast done, but maybe I'll get some cleaning done. Maybe I'll get some laundry done. You know, maybe I'll work on like another project I have. Maybe I'll work on content that doesn't have to do with the podcast. Maybe I'll write some jokes. Maybe I'll work on emailing back some people or trying to get booked somewhere. Like there's always something else to be done. And so sometimes I just try to like do something productive, even if it's really small, even if it's something like doing a face mask that I know is like not going to make a difference really, but it's going to make me feel like I did something for myself, which really helps a lot. What is your favorite thing about the podcast? I think just sitting down with people and talking. I'm a yapper. I'm the queen of yapping. I really like talking about this topic specifically because I didn't get to talk about it for a really long time. And even in comedy, I don't really get to talk about it because audiences don't really want to hear about a girl with an eating disorder. So I think my favorite thing is just being able to be like real and not have to worry about being funny. Like I don't have to sit here and worry about, okay, what's the next punchline I'm going to say? Who am I going to make laugh? Are the listeners laughing? Like, of course I want it to be entertaining and engaging, but it makes me feel like I can do something where there's not this pressure to perform as much and I can just be Morgan. And that's really awesome. How has doing OnlyFans impacted how you view your body? That is a great question. I've had an OnlyFans for probably a little over 2 years now. And it's certainly changed my relationship with like how I see my body sexually in good and bad ways, right? Like there are times when I feel like I don't want to do it because I don't want to be sexualized. But then I'm also like, but I want money. So I do it anyway. But I think it's helped me realize that like, even though I don't really engage with people on there, I don't talk to people back and forth necessarily. And I don't really do like custom stuff. I really just like take photos and post them and then just kind of like check in on it every once in a while. It makes me feel like sexiness, attraction is so much more than what your body looks like. Because I grew up with the idea that the only way to be sexy, the only way to be attractive was to have this quote unquote perfect body, right? Like I had to have the nice hair. I had to have the straight nose. I had to have full lips, long eyelashes, clear skin, tan skin. I had to have long nails, but not too long. They had to be natural. I had to be pretty without makeup and with makeup. I had to have big boobs that are even and don't have stretch marks with little nipples. And you know what I mean? Like there's so many things that go into like, what is the perfect woman? And none of us fucking look like that. And so I think OnlyFans has taught me that like, yeah, there are people who like women with bellies. There are people who like feet. There are people who love knees for some reason. Like, not to say that I want to engage with that, but just knowing that like being seen as attractive is so much more than just the idea of what your body looks like. It's also like, what are your eyes conveying? Like, who are you as a person? Like, I mean, I can't speak for my boyfriend, but I would assume that he thinks I'm sexy for more reasons than just my body. I'm looking over at him at the computer right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's helped me understand that attraction is a lot more than just like what you look like. Obviously, OnlyFans is a specific platform for like, I wear lingerie, I post it, I have, you know, I'm like posing sexy, whatever, but it's taught me a lot more than just like what my body is. Here's the last question. What are good resources to get better informed on this topic? So there are a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of, I would say like op-ed type of blogs and influencers, but I would say the best sources to be more informed about like eating disorders and recovery and anti-diet culture are from typically like medical professionals and the media that they create. So I'm a huge fan of the book Intuitive Eating, which was originally published in the 90s and has been revised multiple times to include what's been going on in society, like the eruption of social media, the pressures that come with that. And that book talks a lot about how eating disorders really do develop out of dieting and how there's a lot of research backing the idea that diets don't work and why they don't work, but why it's $1 trillion industry. I also think that there's a lot of fat activist literature that is really important to read. I have a book list at the link in my bio of books that I've read that I really love. Like there's like I think it's Body Respect. There's Health at Every Size. Ian Carmel, who is a great comic, has a book called T-Shirt Swim Club that kind of documents his life as a fat person and what he's gone through. And so I think I'm a huge fan of reading. Like I think reading is a really good way to be informed on the topic because sometimes it's easier to sit down with a book rather than like look up a scholarly article about this shit. So I would say look up books that are written by fat activists, that are written by eating disorder specialists, that are produced by people who have been through this experience or who have worked with this experience to understand what it's like and how deep it actually is. That would be my advice. And that was all of your questions answered on today's episode. Always feel free to send questions. I'm always checking the email, mybodymyjokespod@gmail.com. If you want to be a guest, if you have something to say, feel free to email me. Like I'm always interested in hearing what you guys have to say. And I want to know what's on your mind. You can also DM me on Instagram, TikTok, all that fun shit, Morgan Lorraine Gallo. And hopefully if you're here in February, you'll come to Hourglass Social because it's an awesome show. And if you came from the pod to that show, you should definitely come tell me so that I know, and maybe I'll give you a little something as a gift. So today I'm going to end on an affirmation that was provided to me by a listener named Alex. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Heisler? Alex Heisler, thanks for sending this into the pod. I love this affirmation, and this is what we're going to end with today. If you wouldn't say it about your friend, don't say it about yourself. Words of wisdom there, Alex. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next week for a new episode. I've been Morgan Lorraine Gallo. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to My Body, My Jokes. Please be advised that the information provided in this podcast is for general discussion purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always, always, always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional with any concerns you might have regarding the topics discussed in today's episode. Also, if you or someone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, please call the National Eating Disorders Association helpline at 1-800-931-2237. Bye.